Here we go. So this is an absolutely huge abstract that I'm working on at the moment. I'm all about playing and having fun. You can see all the mark making that I've been doing. This one was only sort of, I mean, it's only half finished, but you really get the idea. Lots of sticking, lots of colours, just lots of good vibes. And then another one I'm working on is, this one will make you laugh. This is two cats in a house. Well, it's their house and they've got their cat balls below them. So there's so many play elements in my work and I'm all about colour and just letting go and having fun. I don't believe that art has to be super, super serious and super boring. So I thought we could do that today. And yeah, just prove that you don't have to be serious and boring to have a career in art. So my hands are pinned here. I want us to do some warm-up exercises. So what we're going to do is with two, you can either use dry or wet mediums. I would like you to get one in each hand. It doesn't matter what they are. You could have a paintbrush, you could have a felt tip, anything you like, anything that makes a mark in both hands. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're just going to scribble, okay, until I say stop. I want the whole page filled. This might sound really bananas, but it gets your brain, both set parts of your brain, working and warming up. And it gets rid of all that boring stuff where you're worrying about paying the bills or all the boring life stuff, and you get really in the zone when you do these sorts of warm-ups. Okay, so on your marks, get, set, go. So I want you just scribbling everywhere. Don't worry about it. Just let your arms go. Work from your shoulders. Roll your shoulders while you're doing it. And just enjoy the line making. Just enjoy it. Just really being confident with your pencil can really, really help you out. So just enjoy it. Or your paintbrush, any mark making. If you ever get a chance to just do any mark making, always do it because it'll help towards your practice. All adds up. And stop. So that's our first warm-up. So I might write brain warm-up on this one, but you can do that too if you want. Lovely, and always write in your signature in the corner. Always lovely to keep in your sketchbooks and things, because it's just lovely to look back on, or you might go back and you might colour in the sections that you've gone round. In fact, I did that with this one here, so you could do that. I also do other ones like that as well. So, I mean, that's a piece of work that I'd sell. So if you think about it, it's not that far off. Okay, so are we ready for the next one? Shall I use two different colours this time? A green felt tip and a pink pen. Okay. Are we ready? So this time we want our hands to chase each other. So my green hand is going to chase my pink hand. Okay, but you can do it either way round. And again, it's just about mark making and not thinking, okay? On your marks, get set, go. Chase, just chase exactly the same shape as that they're making. My felt tip's actually running out, but I'm not panicking and I'm thinking that would be an interesting effect. You can do some scribbles, some tight bits and circles, just chase it right round the page. And stop. Perfect. And again, stick it in a sketchbook, write your name on it, Warm-ups are really, really important. Keep hold of all the art you do, because you never know when it's, here's another one I've done, when you'll use it again. So that one says, I like taking a paintbrush for a walk. And you can just remember those sorts of things when you look back at your work, and you can really amass a good quantity of work. Cool. So we're going to get going with our main piece. So some of you will have wet media, paint, and some of you will have dry media. I'm going to do the piece in both. So my dry media piece, actually, I think I'm going to use 2 pencils. And my wet media piece, I've got paints ready. Okay, I'll be working super fast because I'm going to do wet and dry, just so you can see how it works. But you can go a lot slower and take your time and make it really lovely, because you're not having to do 2 at the time. Though if you want to do 2 at a time, please feel free to join the Bonkers group. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to give you instructions the whole way through. You can't go wrong. You can never go wrong with art. Okay, the only thing that you can do wrong is not give things a go. Okay, so just follow my instructions and we're just going to have fun, and you'll see what bananas things we end up making. Right, dry group. I would like you to shade lightly in your background with big marks like that. Can you do that for me? So dry group, I've started you off. You start there, okay? Wet group, big yellow. Get your page yellow, okay? And I suppose if you are dry and yellow, if you've got coloured pencils, you could do a yellow background, okay? So whatever media you are using, I want you to cover the page, paper or canvas. It doesn't matter what it looks like. The scruffier the better. No one cares. Just go bananas. I've got strokes going in all different directions. It is good to get it right to the corners. Don't forget your corners. Dry group, you might be scribbling really, really fast. And it depends how big your paper is, but wet group, you might also still be going. But it doesn't matter if you've missed bits. Don't worry about anything like that. So there we go. I've roughly covered my canvas. When you don't use water with your brush, it's called dry brushing, but you can use water as well. Water is just always good to add to acrylic, gouache, or yeah, anything but oil paint basically. So we've got my backgrounds done. I've got my yellow background, wet, yellow dry, and graphic dry. Okay, so you should all have that nearly done. Just to give you a bit more time, I'll carry on with my dry a bit.
Emily, just to slow you down a little bit as well, I'm gonna chuck in some questions, and if anyone has any questions and they'd like to ask, please feel free to pop them in the chat when you have a moment to do so. So my first question, Emily, right, is when you went to NUA, what skills have you taken away from that educational experience that you use today, would you say?
So all of it really. I mean, I was set up for my whole art career there. I think the confidence that they gave me to really back myself through my career, I got from the fine art course there. And I just got to really play for like 3 years, like really experiment. And that time really allowed me to find my practice. So confidence and finding my practice on the fine art course there. And also networking. I've known and know really amazing people from my course that we've gone on to do art exhibitions. I've exhibited at the Saatchi with a classmate from NUA, you know, all sorts of things like that. So you find people, and yeah, it's good. It was really, really good.
Cool. Thank you.
Got any other questions for me?
You know what? I will come back with more questions. There's going to be plenty more, but for now, if you're happy with this coloured backdrop, then crack on.
Okay, so next, I would like you to, if you're doing colours, we're doing blobs like this. I want you to cover your space in blobs, all different sizes. Okay, if you're doing this in paint, you do it in brown paint or a darker paint. Just how I'm doing it there. Then on my graphite, or my pencil, I'm just going darker, okay? So I'm just pressing harder and filling the space like that. Okay, so dry group, you know what you're doing, and I'll come back and I'll add more to that. So let's see how many blobs you can fit on. And then wet group, you just stay with me and just draw lots and lots of blobs, all different sizes, all over your page. You'll find out what they are soon. Some of you might know already. Some of you might not.
Oh, Emily, is it all right if I ask some questions whilst you're blobbing?
Yeah, cool.
Cool. So, what skills did you have before you went to NUA? And what's NUA's expectations before you joined, in your opinion?
What skills did I have before?
Yeah. Let's answer that one first, and then we'll go into that next one.
What skills did I have before? I had enthusiasm. Is that a skill?
That's a good trait, yeah.
I had enthusiasm before I went, and I could draw. I just enjoyed drawing, I suppose. So I didn't really have a big skill range because A-levels, just I had to do loads of other stuff in A-levels as well as art. So I was just really, really keen and passionate. I didn't think I had a huge lot of a wide range of skills. I really got those when I went there. So yeah, but they liked my enthusiasm at interview, definitely. That's how I got in anyway.
And so the second part of that question is, what do you think are NUA's expectations from you before you join? I mean, I can help out with the answer to this one if you like.
This is so I think they want you to be in it seriously, no sort of messing around, like in it for the career. I think they want you to be confident with drawing. Actually, I'm talking about fine art here a bit, so Tom, you might know other courses. Fairly confident in your discipline, but you don't have to have a huge wide range of skills. I think that's all I know from my day, but Tom, you might know a bit more.
Yeah, I can jump in on this a little bit. So I think you're absolutely right. I think being kind of passionate about that subject that you're going into is absolutely key. But in terms of all of our courses, in terms of what they're looking for in a portfolio at least, we're looking for 3 key things in any portfolio application. So it's things like the influences on your work. So whenever we make stuff, we're never making a vacuum. We're always inspired by someone or something, and we want to see what those are. We also want to see how your ideas have progressed. So when you get an idea or a brief, we want to see how it progresses, and the choices that you've made along the way to work towards that kind of final outcome. And we also want to see those final outcomes. So a variety of relevant media is always awesome to see in any portfolio application. So those are the key things that we really want to see in a portfolio. Great question.
That's a really good question. Yeah, I love doing my portfolio. That was so good. I had, I mean, I'm not advising this, but when you opened my portfolio, it was triggered. So party poppers went off when you opened it. But I'm not advising that.
Just in case anyone might have a heart attack.
But it, you know, it definitely stood out. Yeah. So, I mean, shall we go on to the next stage, or is it more questions? How are we feeling?
So at this stage, okay, I've been asked to repeat about the portfolio, so I can repeat that in a moment. But do you want to move on to the next stage, and then I'll re-advise about the portfolios?
Absolutely. Okay, so next, because I'm going to let you into a secret, we're doing animals. I might have actually said that already. We're going to do 4 legs on all our blobs, okay? So if you're in the dry media colour group, I want you to do this. But everyone can watch this because you can put legs on. Can you see? I've done 4 legs like that. I've done 4 legs like that. I've done 4 like that. 4 like that. 4 like that. So you can really do 4 legs however you like, okay? Just fill your space, long legs, short legs, tiny legs. The funnier, the better. I love a hilarious outcome. It's pretty much what I strive for. So again, if you're doing it in graphite, just nice and dark pencil. Okay, so you can take your time doing those. And then wet group, I'm going to do my legs here. Some of these animals are going to be upside down. Some of them are going to be asleep like that, or flat on the floor like that. You can just start bringing the paint down from your blob as well. That's always a good trick. Don't worry about it, just have fun. I know it's hard when you're coming in from GCSE and A-level and E-Tech when you're doing things like drawing things really, really accurately. But this is more sort of university standard, free play. You're in charge of your own learning.
Hey, we've got a couple more questions. What I'm just going to do, Emily, if this is all right, while you're getting those legs on, I'll just go over that portfolio advice again. And once again, that'll be on the recording, but it'll also be on our website. So the 3 key things we look for in a portfolio are, we want to see the ideas development. So how your ideas progress from that initial thought through to a final outcome. We want to see the decisions you've made along the way. We also want to see the influences on your work, those artists, designers, filmmakers, architects, poets, anyone or anything that's inspired you. And we're also looking for those final outcomes that you've produced in a range of different media that's relevant to that course that you're applying for. So for more information on that, please don't go onto our website. So that's www.nua.ac.uk and have a look at our portfolio advice video online. There you've also got links to each of our individual courses and a little video that will support that also. So we've had a question, which is, what would you, how would you describe your practice? What type of painting is this? Is this expressionist painting? How would you define it?
This is bonkers painting. No, I don't know how you describe it. I get described by the press and my galleries as a colorist. So all my work's very heavily based in colour, colour conversations going on, the colours I'm using. So it doesn't matter necessarily what subject I'm doing. I always end up being a colourist because that's the main theme that runs throughout my work. But you don't need to worry about being in a, you know, under an umbrella term like that, really. You can just do exactly what you want. And I was just talking to my gallery on the phone before this, my Cornwall gallery, and they said a piece was great because they'd never seen anything like it before. So if you're doing stuff people haven't seen before, that's brilliant. If they can't put it in a box, even better. People just end up throwing phrases at you like you're a colorist, or they'll try and put you in a box but probably won't manage it. Yeah, so that's me, a colorist.
I love that. That's great. Thank you. What a lovely answer. So, hey, do you want to move on to the next bit? We've got a couple of other questions in, or what are you feeling?
Should we do the next? Should we get them going on the next bit?
Let's do the next bit.
And then do the question. Okay, so next bit, we're going to add the head and ears on. Okay, so I want you to do scribbled heads and ears like this. I'm going to tell you what it is now. We're doing donkeys, okay? So you can do your heads any way you like. I've done really bonkers ears there. It doesn't matter where you put your ears. It doesn't matter if you can't remember what a donkey looks like. Just have fun. I mean, this probably would get me under the abstract bracket, this piece, but just any way you like. This is how you make different sorts of art, by really breaking the rules. And remember, I want you to be scribbling extra hard if you're doing it in graphite, and in colour, get your little brown donkey heads on with your ears.
I think this will be really, I guess, people take pleasure in doing this bit, because there has been a comment that their animals are looking like cockroaches on the chat.
Amazing.
So this will be transformative at this stage.
Look, if you've got cockroaches, that's great. You just change the title of the painting to cockroaches. Just roll with it. You just got. Sometimes the painting takes charge, and you start off with an idea and it's got another idea. So you just carry on. I really want to see a cockroach painting. I haven't seen one ever before. You know, just roll with it. You got to roll with your own weirdness.
So hey, I've got another question.
Yeah.
Well, two questions here from the same person. Thank you, Rosie. Do you have a favourite art medium? That's my first.
Paint. Gouache, which is like acrylic but flatter, so you get bigger planes of colour. Acrylic and oil, so they all dry really fast apart from oil, and with oil I use liquid to make it dry faster. But basically anything with super amazing colour pigmentation. So I'll use special brands of acrylic that I like, that have got great colours in. And all of those mediums are really easy to mix. So yeah, paint, always paint. Yeah.
Cool. And did you do a foundation year? There's a bit of a change of pace, but
no, I didn't do a foundation year because I was so desperate to get out to go to uni. I didn't do a foundation year, but it's a funny old one because I meet artists today. I was on a course with a 50-year-old artist the other day, and he is the most wonderful artist. I absolutely adore his work. And he was saying his foundation degree was the making of him, and a lot of artists say that. So I've never heard a negative thing about a foundation, but I didn't do one. But sometimes I feel like I missed out. So, but I did get out of, I left for uni earlier. So sort of, yeah.
Pros and cons.
Suits you.
Yeah. Cool. And hey, we've had a few more questions. So what are your main artist influences, would you say?
What are my influences?
Yeah, so what creatives or artists have influenced you the most, would you say?
Artists. Okay. This is a very serious question. So I love Matisse. He was the one who did the big paper cutouts. and amazing colour work. I love Joan Erdley, who was a female painter who painted up right in the north of Scotland. She did huge wild work. Again, she was known as a colourist. I love any of the Fauves. They're amazing. Picasso, I don't want to say I like Picasso because I want to list more female artists, because obviously I want to promote those as well. But Picasso did some wonderful work where he really, really played with like drawing animals and things like that. So he was really fun, and he changed the landscape of art. I mean, I can go on all day about artists I love. So let's not do that.
That's a formidable list. That's great. Thank you. So I've got more questions, but do you want me to hold fire for a moment whilst you move on to our next step?
Okay, brilliant, thanks. So next we're going to add the tails. Tails, all different directions, please. Up, down, across, just add them wherever you like, just really quickly, don't think about it. Okay, so dry media, you know what you're doing at this point. It's not too complicated. Add those tails. You could add the hair in that goes across the donkey's back if you like. You know how they have that, they sometimes have that goes through their ears. So you could do that as well. Extra points for bonkers hairstyles. I mean, feel free to add a plaited tail, anything you like. And then I'm going to move to dry media and get my tails in all different directions.
We've had some comments, Emily, of people saying what their animals are looking like. And some people have invented new animals, which is excellent.
You see, this is creativity, isn't it? At its best.
Absolutely.
I mean, what have we got?
We've got mystery animals. We have, what else has been mentioned? We've had some ducks, I think.
Oh, ducks?
Yeah.
That's really impressive, getting ducks.
Penguins, pigs, turtles. It's great.
Wow, I'm intrigued to see these. Are they going to show them on Padlet?
Yes, we are going to show them on Padlet shortly. So I will flag up in a few minutes' time about how we will be able to share these with each other.
Amazing. So I can do some questions now. Everyone's doing their donkey hairstyles and tails.
Yeah. We've got rabbits, we've got owls, we've got donkey mice. Excellent.
Donkey mice, brilliant.
We've got some that look like sheep. We've got all sorts of herds going on. This is brilliant.
I say put it in your portfolio, guys.
I say great shout. So this is excellent. It's really lovely to hear how it's going with everyone. I'm fascinated to see what these are going to look like.
I can't wait to see the hairstyles. Anyway.
Oh, we've got an alligator as well. Nice change of pace there. Great.
Terrifying.
So Emily, right? I've got some serious questions.
Yeah.
How do you go from art student to professional artist? What do you do? What are the steps?
So you've got to take a few huge leaps of faith and really, really believe in yourself, because a lot of society sort of is saying, get a job, pay the mortgage, that sort of thing. And an art career sort of argues with that slightly. So what I did was I came out of NUA and became a teacher, trained as a teacher, stuck at that for like 3 years, decided I was an artist and I couldn't actually do like a really boring job. And then I started my own company.
Not that teaching's boring, by the way, just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah, exactly. Teaching 9 to 5 every day, it's not all right. And then I did, so then I started a company and I sold designs to all sorts of fancy places like MoMA in New York and the British Museum. And again, it was exactly, I was the boss, I knew what I wanted to do. I had loads of control, I could use colour. It was very design orientated because I thought that was the way to make money through art. And then I was still ending up doing what I was told by people, like design briefs and stuff. And I didn't like that. So I said to my husband, let's quit our jobs. We'll sell off that, do designs for that company, and we are going to give ourselves 3 months, and we will sell my art. And for those 3 months, I just made sure my work was really, really saleable. I emailed every gallery I could. I brought out brochures. I did catalogue, postcards. I threw everything at it for 3 months. We were completely broke. And on the 4th month, when we were deciding what jobs to get, it started trickling in. And I think on the 4th month, we made about £2,000. So we could finally make rent. And then it just carried on from there. And it's never faltered since, because it's just so easy. We have lots of different galleries, and don't believe that you couldn't do it, because you can. You just need to believe that you could. That's how I did it.
Oh, thank you.
How's everyone's haircuts going? Donkey hairstyles?
I mean, we've had some interesting comments.
Oh, yeah.
And people are using different colours as well, which is fantastic. So some people are using green.
What's that?
Just changing the whole narrative, which I love.
Yeah, why not? I'm going to add another donkey here. If you want to add another donkey, feel free. So shall I do the next stage and then we'll do another question, or?
Yeah, let's do that. That sounds great.
Okay, so we now need to add the eye. Okay, now graphic dry people, you're going to have to be creative. You're going to have your eyes like looping out of your head, or something. You're going to have, can you see my eyes are like looping out of its head? If you have a darker colour for the colour people doing on the colouring dry medium.
Or can they do eyes in different colours?
You can do eyes in whatever colours you like. I'd be very impressed. Just trying to find a darker colour. My art teacher banned me from using black at school, and then I've never had black around. You can use felt tip, so you can really dot on those eyes. Make sure you put 2 eyes on each head, because that's very funny usually. Actually, I think I just put that one on the tail, which is great. So just add them on. Okay, so you're doing looping eyes or eyes on top. Eyes will make it really funny. And then wet media group. Let's have a go adding a darker eye on top. Okay, so I'm just adding in my eyes, and we won't be able to do it yet, but afterwards you can go in and add a white dot. But if you start off with black, then you get the idea, but because it's drying, it just smudges, so we might have to leave that.
Emily, is it okay for people to mix their media?
Oh yeah, go for it. Absolutely. This lot sound like they've really got it together.
I mean, we've got cockroaches with Elvis Presley hairstyles, so beat that.
I would definitely put that in your portfolio. Make sure you add a nose as well. I'd forgotten about the nose. Eyes and a nose.
We've had a question that relates to applying to university. Do you mind if I answer that, and then we can look at some of those? So the question is, how do you apply to NUA and get into an art course? So the first thing we would really recommend that you do is do a bit of research into what courses really interest you. Initially, it may be looking at a website, picking up a prospectus if that's possible, or ordering one through, or going to an open day to find out what type of work you want to do and what you don't want to do. So there's 2 courses that really tie in with the workshop today. For example, there's fine art and there's illustration, and they have some similarities and some differences around them. So it's worth finding out what those differences are. Then after that, for any university application, you apply through UCAS. And if you're applying for next year, for example, you'd need to apply by the 15th of January. I don't think the application's open just yet because we're at the end of this year's cycle. When you're applying to a university, you'd need to do things like a personal statement, have a portfolio ready to show. And we usually look at portfolios around the January, February time for most applicants. But that's all kind of in a nutshell what you'd have to do. But if you would like to contact us, we will be giving you an email address at the end, and we can talk through that a bit more thoroughly a little bit later. But good question. Thank you for that.
Absolutely go to art school. It was the best decision of my life. Not that I'm biased, but it's really great. Next, we're going to add hooves. Okay, so dry media can have these nice, add those shapely hooves on. Sorry, my dry media one's so fast and quick, but there we go. So you can have them standing out like that, but you sound like you're a creative lot, and you can make it up as well. And then I'm going to add my hooves over here in a darker colour on my coloured dry one. Some of my animals aren't making sense. I mean, I think this one looks like a kiwi, a New Zealand bird, a bird from New Zealand. That one's got 2 tails, no head. So it's really great fun. And then you can always just add in a bit of pattern if you like. Sunglasses.
Sorry, mate. I love what you told us about the painting that you sold to a fisherman. Wasn't to a fisherman, but it had fishermen on it and they had no heads. But the person that bought it loved it.
Yeah, so I had painting like this, but I did fishermen all over it because I live in a fishing port. And I forgot to put a head on one of them. And then it sold, and it went to someone in London, and they rang me up and they said, one of the fishermen don't have heads. And I said, oh, that's just part of it. He's putting his jumper on because he looked like that. And yeah, it was just great. So you just have to roll with it. You have to go with the crackers that you are. Yeah, that's the only thing to do, I think, if you're creative.
Hey, we've had a really interesting question. That'd be really, you're going to need to cast your mind back for this one. It's a really good one from Imogen. It says, I'm starting my year 1 fine art degree in September anyway. Do you have any top tips for the first week at uni?
Ooh. Top tips would be absolutely enjoy yourself and get to know lots and lots of different people. Don't put pressure on yourself. Don't expect anything. Just sort of go with it. There'll be loads going on. It depends if you're staying away from home. If you're staying away from home as well, that it's an amazing week. You get to sort of start cooking for the first time, all sorts. So I say pace yourself. Remember why you're there. Do your work, but yeah, enjoy it. Meet loads of people. Get talking to everyone. Everyone's really, really nice. Yeah, go for it. Go wild. And well done for getting in. That's such good news. You're on your way to greatness.
Excellent. Hey, we've got a lovely question here as well. Do you think artists should have a color palette throughout all their artworks, or some kind of consistent style? I guess so. We get a sense of an artist's kind of brand or style or visual language. Do you think that's important?
So I always used to think it was important, and I'd strive for it, and it just wouldn't come. But that now I do have sort of continuity within my work. Like there's always turquoise in a painting. You sort of pick up on stuff just because that's the way I work, and I've sort of worked for so long. I picked up these habits and traits. But I would like my work not to look like each other now. So I'd say it just happens naturally, but then I think you want to break out of that as well. I think you want lots of different work. I don't know about you, but some artists work where it's just like page after page of the same thing, and it's like, yeah, okay, you're recognizable, but you're putting me to sleep, mate, you know? So I'd say go for it. Don't worry. Don't try and get a house style. It'll just come over time. I didn't know turquoise was going to be on everything I did, and it is. And now, when I was talking to my gallery just before, they were saying my exhibition in November is called Why Emerald Green Changed My Life. And it's because that goes all the way through my work, but I didn't mean it to. And I was pretty horrified when I realized there was so much green throughout my work. So it's a bit of a strange one, that. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Hey, we're going to have, we've had some questions around how do we share our work. We're going to share it shortly, but there's another stage, I think, to come before we're kind of at the final outcome sort of stage. So we're going to hold off from doing that just so people aren't distracted. But we will be able to see one another's work in a few moments' time. Yeah,
I can't wait for that. I literally can't wait. So now we're going to do our final outcome. It's 2 things. You absolutely have to. I'll be checking. I won't really. No, I might. I will check that you have your name in the bottom right hand corner of your work. Okay, so I just put my surname. You can write your first name, whatever, or just initial, whatever you're comfortable with. Make sure you put it there, because it's a really important thing that you're proud of your work and you sign it, because I didn't for years and I regret it. And it's some of my work that's sold now that's not signed isn't worth as much. So make sure you sign your work. Get into that practice now. The second job is dry media. We're going to go in for the graphite, I want you to start shading in over the loose work that you did in the background, another layer. Okay, so you're getting this beautiful next level of mark making over the top. Okay, so just keep at it, go different ways, get that. It's more of a tighter weave with the one on top, and it should tighten it up beautifully. Okay, so it's like working against the directions of the pencil, just getting really comfortable with the pencil. Don't go too close to the donkey, leave a gap around them. Just do a really nice tight patch there. Can you see it goes in different directions and it's over there? Okay, now for the coloured, I'd say over yellow, it's really good to put a green or a turquoise, like I was saying, obsessed with green and turquoise, because the yellow lifts your green and turquoise. Okay, so if you do that, if I just did that there, it would look boring, but this gives it another dimension by going over yellow. But I also like to leave the yellow peeping out from around the donkey as well, because that gives depth. So layering can really give a good amount of depth. Okay, so you carry on with those, and I'm going to go over to the wet medium, and I'm going to use blue. I've just got a lot of blue over here, and I'm going to go in between all my donkeys. Okay, and it might pick up on some of the yellow. It's a super hot day, so it might not, but just leave. I'll do it over here so you can see. Leave a gap around your donkey so you can see the yellow coming out, and it needs to be around the outside of every donkey. Okay, I'm going to change to a smaller brush for the close-up sections. You can use your finger. I often do finger painting, but just go around your donkeys, not worrying too much, just roughly covering that yellow, but leaving some peeking out as well.
Thank you, Emily. I've got a few questions. I've also got some that I can answer myself. Mm-hmm. So one question from Robin is, how can teaching staff submit their outcomes for the chance to win the painting that you're producing right now for their school or college?
We have teachers.
Sorry?
We have teachers here.
We do have teachers here. We've got plenty of teachers here, which is excellent.
Sorry, teachers. And I said your job was boring. I didn't mean it. Sorry.
So, yes, you will be able to, we will give you an email address at the end of the session that we'd like you to submit your work to. And then following that, Emily is going to be judging the paintings, and we will let you know shortly afterwards, well, actually tomorrow, whether you've been successful or not. So we would like to see your work submitted to us at student.recruitment@nua.ac.uk, but I will be sending you a link in the chat a bit later on to remind you. Good question though, thank you for that.
Can't wait to see them. Can't wait.
Oh, we've had a really really good question from Tanishqua, which is, do you have sorry, how do you combat self-doubt as an artist?
That is a tricky one. Every day is you have to sort of, there's so many artists, you know, at the moment I'm having to go and see lots of artists with the gallery that I'm working in, and you know, you do think, oh, should I be working like that? Should I be doing this? And then you just have to really have a strong voice in your head that says, no, I'm staying on my own path. I'm doing this. I'm doing me. There's only one of me. There's only one type of work like this. And you just have to be so strict with yourself that you don't fall down that hole, and don't fall down that social media hole of comparing yourself. I know it's really easy to say, and it sounds just so repetitive, but I try and stay away from looking at too much work on social media. So I won't have lots of other artists on my Instagram. So I'm not comparing myself all the time. Yeah, I just carry on, battle through. And if I do like people's work, I'll get competitive about it, but I won't get down about it. I'll just be like, right, I'm going to do my work, but I'm going to do it better. So yeah, that's how I do it, really.
That's cool. That's really useful. Thank you. Hey, we've got another lovely question here, which kind of ties in with that a little bit. So when something goes wrong in your painting, how do you deal with it? Do you continue and make something new with the mistake? How do you work with it?
Well, I mean, that's a very interesting question. When you say wrong, nothing ever goes to plan, because there rarely is a plan with my paintings. It's basically starting off with a mark and then seeing what goes next to that mark, seeing what colour goes with that, seeing what scribble goes with that, or that's how I sort of roll. Very gut reaction painting. But if I don't like it and I'm stuck and I'm just mid-flow and I can't work out a colour solving problem, like I had that last night, and it leaves you feeling really like checkmate, frustrated, just like, what am I going to do? You just have to turn your painting around, face the wall and start another one, or leave the room. Have a cup of tea, calm down, it's okay. And then everything gets back into perspective again. And then often when it's dry, you'll come back with new eyes and you'll just be like, oh, right. And then you'll just like paint over it or change it or just add that big circle that needed to be added. And that's just part of the creative process. It's like looking after yourself if you're panicking and you're like, okay, I'm panicking, I need to sit myself down, I need to look after myself or whatever. It's training your brain when you're working to do that as well. So you look after yourself when you're painting as well as you look after yourself in everyday life.
Thank you for that. We've had Bernice write, can I add one more colour to this step?
Yeah, add whatever you like. I'm so up for seeing different things. Go for it. Go bonkers.
And we've had some, this is a bit more of an NUA question. We've had a question about how can I enroll if I'm coming from a different country? If you would like to know, because it's slightly different depending on what part of the world you're from in terms of entry requirements. So if you'd like to email us at student.recruitment@nua.ac.uk and we'll get back to you on that. I'm going to give out that email address and I'm going to put that in the chat at the end of today's session. So if you do have any quite specific questions around applications, we'd love to get in touch with you, but we'll look to answer that with you privately. But thank you for asking.
That leads me on to say just a quick thing about, you know, if you're coming from a different country, and, you know, that's a big thing to do. I didn't come from a different country, but I came from a big city in Liverpool, and that was really far away from Norwich. But I just want to reassure you that Norwich is such a kind city, and it's small and it's inclusive and it's just so Such a lovely place. It's not one of those like faceless universities. I loved it, and like the lecturers knew my name, and it was just very different to the universities I've visited my friends at. Really personal, just really, really friendly art school, proper art school. Just wanted to add that in. Sorry.
That's a lovely plug. I'll take that. You can do that more. Very welcome.
Oh, but it's so lovely. I wish I was back there.
So we've had another question. So is it okay if you have multiple types of animals that don't actually exist? Brilliant question.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that means if you've done that, you should definitely apply, because that means that you're really, really weird and you're very much Nooker material. The weirder, the better. I'm using a tiny paintbrush to slow myself down. But how is everyone going? We're nearly at time, aren't we? So, should we talk about the Padlet boards, do you think, Tom? Or
yeah, we can do. We've got a bunch of other questions. So I would imagine other people are at a similar stage to you as well. So if it's all right, I'll ask a few questions and then I'll introduce Padlet, and we'll give that a go. So what have we got on the question? So we've got a really interesting one here. I had one question with my preconceived notions. I've always thought that being an artist means making realistic art or refined, perfect work, etc. Thus, is it right, or does it depend on what you freely choose to do as an artist in building your audience? So I guess, does it matter to make things appear realistic, and how do you find your audience?
Absolutely does not matter about making things realistic. I'd say it'd probably sabotage you making your work realistic, because if you go around galleries, there's just loads of sort of plants that look like plants, or galleries want to see your unique take on things, like the Anyway portfolio. Like, people want to see what you've got to say in the world. They don't want to see an exactly the same spoon, from GCSE that you can draw. Just the more you lean into you, the more famous you'll be, really, and the more successful you'll be. And finding your audience, I mean, they really find you. I put my work out on social media and into galleries, and I'll find galleries that take really bright work, and then you start the ball rolling like that, and then everyone just ends up finding you. Like, if they like bright colours, I've got a huge following that always sort of ask about colour, and they just find you because they love your work so much. And if it's honest work to, honest to what you believe in, then a lot of people will love it, because they don't want to see sort of fake work. If I just drew spoons every day, no one would want to buy it if they were sort of realistic spoons, because they'd know I wasn't being authentic. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Well, I've got a couple of questions, a couple more, and then I'll maybe talk about Padlet, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Apologies if I don't get around to your questions, by the way, guys, and do keep them coming. We will be going until 4:30 today, so hopefully we'll get as many as we can addressed. So has sharing your art on social media helped you? If so, what platform as well, or forms?
Yes, it has helped me, but you've got to be really, really, really careful that you don't get really sucked into it and believing all the likes and things. I mean, the main place I am is Instagram, because it's a visual platform for social media. So yes, it's really helped me. I do a lot of sales through Instagram. It's like my online portfolio. So I don't have like my dogs and my kids on there. I mean, I don't have dogs or kids. Well, but I keep it very professional. So people can sort of see my work ready to buy. I do lifestyle shots with my work, so people can see what they look like above a bed or a sofa. So it's very sort of sales related and art. Yeah, it's my portfolio really, and really important to me to keep a track of my work on it. So it has its uses, but you can't fall for it completely. It's got a place, but don't use it for everything. Don't just sell through that, because it's not reliable. It won't always be there. Yeah, keep moving, keep thinking with other different things as well.
Great, thank you. Right, so I'm just going to answer a question that we've had come in. So if we have to leave the session early, can we watch the recording for the rest of it and have it count towards the 6, attending 6 and submitting work from 3? Yes, absolutely. If you do need to leave early, then you can catch the rest of this on the recording, absolutely. And then we'd love to see your submission. So while Emily is finishing off this piece, what I'd like to do is introduce you to Padlet. So I'm gonna make sure I get my Padlet screen ready and share that with everyone. So whilst you're finishing off your works, I'm gonna try to introduce you to this, if I can share my screen. Excellent. So hopefully you should be able to see my screen. So in order to use Padlet, Padlet's like our sharing board, basically. It's our desktop to be able to see everything that you guys have been producing. In order to use it, I think the easiest way of doing it is if you have a smartphone, if you could open up your camera app, and all you need to do is hold your camera app over your screen, over the QR code on your screen right now. And that way, oh, there we go. You can ping up your work onto our Padlet board. You can either take a live photo or you can have a pre-taken photo that you can upload. All you need to do is hold your camera app over the QR code, then it'll open up a browser. You guys are getting it already. This is brilliant. And from there, what we'll do is we will just be approving these. I can't keep up.
You're trying to tell generation, is it Z, how to use like media, and they're like,
I know. And I'm like a clunky old chap.
You're like a granddad. Slow down, granddad. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, all you need to do is press the plus symbol in the bottom right. Oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed. And that way we'll be able to see your work. This is awesome. I'm so excited and overwhelmed all at the same time. So what I'll do is I'm going to hand this over to Emma, who's on the back end, and I'm going to be frantically approving all of these that are coming in at a rate that I can't breathe because of it. So this is awesome. I'm going to hand over to Emma to upload her screen. Please, Emma, save me. And I will start approving these.
These are amazing. Are you handing over to me?
No, I'm handing over to Emma. If you're there, Emma.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I am here. I'm just not entirely sure.
I need to give you the Padlet address.
Yes,
that
you
would
do.
help, wouldn't it?
Yep, that would.
So let's pop that in the chat, and then that could be really useful.
Because so you're not Generation Z, you two. Oh, yeah, no. You're not on it. You're millennials.
Like 20 years later.
If you, Tom, could you possibly share the link in the chat? That way we can.
Yeah, I'll share it with everyone.
Thank you.
That might make it a bit more accessible for those that aren't able to instantly jump onto their iPhones. So other phones are available, smartphones, I should say. Great. So Emma, it's in there. If you could click on that, I will look to try to get on board, quite frankly.
Yeah. And I will share that. There aren't any up at the minute, so I will.
Yeah, I'm just approving right now, so you might need to refresh your screen a bit. But that'd be awesome. Thank you, mate.
Right.
Emily, while I'm doing this, and while you're colouring, can you tell us some do's and don'ts of self-promotion? Would that be okay?
Do's and don'ts, yeah, absolutely. Do not ever pay to promote your work. Like don't pay for a gallery. There's galleries out there that get you to pay to promote your work. Don't do that. You don't need to spend any money to promote your work. You just need to have a good Instagram, to send lots of galleries your work, and you just need to be really keen and really approachable, and that's it. You don't need people say like you need lots of fancy brochures and things like that, and you don't. You just need good work and sort of a positive outlook, and you will get there. I've just been emailing people this afternoon saying, take my work, sort of thing. And it happens. So just not be cheeky, but try places that you think you'd never get into, sort of galleries you'd never get into, or places you dream of exhibiting, and really try things, push your own boundaries, I say.
Great, thank you. So I'm just about getting on top of things, just about.
I mean, there is a lot. They are spectacular as well.
They're coming in at the rate of about probably 5 a second. It's absolutely nuts.
They're hilarious.
Oh, there's one that just looks like some awesome crabs. Particularly a big fan. I mean, there's so many that are great. I haven't had time to look at many of them. I'm too busy pressing approve.
There's so many. They're so cool. And they've all got such different personalities. That's the thing, isn't it? Like, I've given out instructions, but it shows how different everyone's creative minds are. That we were all doing the same instructions, but everything's come out so differently. And I love that. You know, so don't ever worry that your work's boring or the same to anyone else, because it won't be, because you've put your spin on it. Super talented group.
Wow, wow, wow. These are really fantastic, guys. And it's really lovely to see the mix like of wet media and dry media as well. People have come at this from all sorts of different angles, which has been brilliant.
And colour, and yeah.
What do you think's like in terms of the effect? What does the wet kind of create opposed to the dry, and what does can the dry do that the wet can't do? What do you think?
So I think the dry becomes very mark makey. So there's a lot of energy in your scribble. You can see dimensionally through it. It feels very sort of initial thoughts, and I love that. I love that it's rough and it's not quite perfection, and that's just wonderful about it. There's something about ideas just being let free with dry media that's just so lovely. So sort of sketchbooky gorgeousness, enjoying your marks, celebrating how you do it. And then I'd say paint is like intense colour for the eyes, really, really bold, really, really strong, very stand out. So yeah, I'm just seeing different ones standing out to me, and how people have layered up using different marks, and people have used inks. Absolutely stunning.
Can I just make a quick announcement, I guess. Just so you know, the Padlet isn't counting towards the submissions for the certificate. So in order to get your certificate, you will have to submit these images via email as well. We will put that email in the chat later on. I just thought I'd let you know, because we have had a couple of questions about it. So sorry to disturb.
No, that's great. Definitely email them in. There's also like black and white as well, or grey shades. It doesn't take away from it that the work doesn't have colour on it. It brings more, the focus is more on, again, mark making and line. So it's amazing what you can do, and you can see that you can't go wrong at all.
So What I'm really keen to know as well, right, is what are we learning from this? Why is this way of making, this way of approaching creating, why does it matter? I'm really keen to know that.
So it's teaching foundation skills. So you're layering colours, you're layering paint, you're focusing on your mark making, you're realizing that you can go about things in a number of ways, and you don't need to have exactly the right amount of legs on things, or you can really play, you can make things into a game. You can just let loose and it all work out and it all be okay. Because I always feel that bit's not supported in the art industry. You know, people don't promote that, and it's really, really true that it should be celebrated. So do bonkers things, draw loads of circles on your page, add smiley faces to them all. You know, you can do it in a big series, make yourself laugh. That's all a skill, that's all special to you. And yeah, I just really want to promote that. And I think the more comfortable with your own work that you are, the more you'll back yourself. So that's my vibe on art, because this leads me on to doing super big abstracts, because I'll look at that and I'll probably think in my chair, and I'll think, I love the way the dots are flowing. They're so free and they're sort of flowing around the place. Maybe I'll make that into an abstract. So it's a starting point for another piece. You know, oh, maybe instead of brown, I'll use bright pink to contrast with the blue. So you're always progressing after it, and you'll learn different things. You might make it more abstract next time. You might not add the heads. You might just do loads of lines all over your page and colour around them. There's just lots of different ways you can go off from a starting point game or a list of instructions.
Great. Wow, we've had 130 submissions, and I'm still sweating as a result of it all.
So good.
And
not one of them is similar. That's so good. Just everyone's done something really different.
Are there any that you want to kind of pick out and kind of specify anything about?
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to tell you, is it? There's a really lovely inky one at the bottom of the screen in the middle. Yeah, it's half blue and half not. Oh, up a bit. Up a bit. Stop. It's just coming in at the top there in the middle. Yeah, it's got a quarter blue, then it's got yellow, and then they're all donkeys. Yeah, that one. This one here. I'm just really drawn to that because it looks like cave painting, and I adore cave painting at the moment. It's really instinctual. It just really stands out. There's lots of water being used. They haven't worried, or it's blending into different colours. And then you've got all the detail. You've got the big splodges and the small splodges. It's just a beautiful piece. I really love that one. Let's have a look. What else do I like?
I can really imagine so many of these as like a repeat pattern wallpaper, or it could be produced on a fabric. It's got so much mileage to it, and you can imagine it in so many different environments as well.
Look at those purple cat donkeys. They're hilarious. They're beautiful. See, that is just a wonderful design. You could see that in John Lewis's fabric. You know, these are just, you know, and this was from play. This is from pure play that you're coming up with these wonderful ideas. I'd have that purple cat's one as curtains. I just love that. That is amazing. And then there's like green donkey aliens to the left of it. They're amazing as well. Just incredible. A big design company called Gucci have just done a collaboration with a man who turns his children's drawings and puts them on the internet, and sort of just celebrates children's drawings in Gucci. So there is a place if you love free play for you in art and design. Look at that really styled orange one that's like red and orange, and it's got spots in the background. Some of them have got 2 heads. It's incredible. Yeah, that one. Your mouse is on it. Up to the left of it. To left. Yeah, that one. Wow, it's so designy. That's so cool. Love it. Really cool. And the frogs, they're brilliant. Or crabs. Do you think they're crabs? Brilliant. Oh, wow, I love that one over there as well. On the left, they're like green donkeys. Yeah, incredible. So good. So simplistic, but the marks are so strong. It's such a vibe. They're like donkey aliens. So good. Love it, love it, love it, love it. I'd love to work with you all. Oh, look. Oh, I love the ones with red hooves. Far right. Oh yeah, I can see her name. Adi from Delhi, India. You've got beautiful colour sense, Adi. Wow. Stunning. These are brilliant. These are so good. I love the multicoloured ones. They're fantastic. You're a rule breaker, I can tell, and I love it. Love it. Very creative, changing the rules. Oh, look at the pink ones with green heads with dark background. That's so contrasting. Oh, that would be an amazing wallpaper. That's just an amazing painting. If you blew that up sort of 2 meters by 2 meters, that could be in the Tate. That's just a stylish, beautiful painting. And I know you think she sounds crackers, but if you look at all the art around, go to the Tate, absorb it all, and you realize that bonkers is good and all of this sort of work is celebrated. So just make sure you look at lots of different artists and you realize that actually just be yourself, be really yourself and run with it, because those pink donkeys, whoever did that is going places. It's amazing. I mean, they're all incredible. Look at the orange one below it as well. Brilliant.
Emily, I'm going to try to rein things in a little bit now. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your work. What an amazing, amazing collection. As Emma has mentioned, we would like you to submit these to us on an email address I'm going to share shortly. But we're going to start to wrap things up a little bit now. However, do be pinging over your questions in the meantime, but I'm going to bring things to a close with my little outro speech that I've prepared as well. So I'm going to just upload that and then we're going to kind of start to wrap things up. So hello again. So before we finish up today, I want to remind you that we have a wide range of workshops across the summer school, and you'll be able to access these through taking part in either the live sessions or having a look at the recordings afterwards. For those of you that joined a little bit later on today, you will be able to access the recordings if you haven't been able to see the whole thing. All of our workshops are designed to give you an insight into lots of different areas that you could take your creativity and suggest that the different jobs that exist in each field. So Emily, it'd be really interesting if you could have a little think for a moment about those jobs that these could lead to. You've kind of suggested at it already, but we'll come back to you on that as well. So if you haven't already, you can book your place on our website to more of the sessions, and we'll share that link with you in the chat. This is one that you're likely to have be familiar with already, but Emma will be popping that into the chat shortly. Thank you, Emma. So other than that, we're also offering the opportunity to receive an official NUA certificate, which is a great way, a great thing to talk about in any personal statement UCAS application, and really help you to stand out, to show that you're proactive and that you're not just doing things in the classroom. To get hold of one of these certificates, all you need to do is submit, attend 6 workshops and submit work from 3 of them. please be aware that any work you submit may be used for future promotional information around the series. Now, you can send your pieces of work to us at student.recruitment@nua.ac.uk. So we'll be sharing that in the chat as well. So that's where you need to submit this work to. We don't just want to see it on the Padlet board, we also need to see it submitted to us at that email address. Yes, other than that, these outcomes can be something that you've made as part of this workshop, so the things you've already made, or something that you've made afterwards. That's also absolutely fine. Also, if you are a teacher and you want to win Emily's wonderful painting that she's produced earlier in the session, once again, please email us at student.recruitment@nua.ac.uk. And after this session, we'll be judging those paintings, and we'll be in touch with you tomorrow to let you know if you and your school and college have won the painting.
Just on that, Tom, is there a deadline for the teachers?
So we're looking to do this within the hour. So we want you to send it over to us pretty much straight away, because we'll be looking at that just before 5 o'clock. So that's something that we want you to act quickly on. We also really want to see what you've been making throughout the summer school series. So please tag us in your photos and share your work outcomes with us on Instagram. So that's at NUA Outreach, and also at TakeYourPlace_HE. We'd love to see your work over there, and we'll be sharing some of our favorite pieces of work throughout the series. So please get involved, and Emma's going to be popping that into the chat as well. Each week we'll also be giving away a prize, hurrah, of either a mug or a chili bottle. So if you'd like to win one of these branded items, which I think are pretty cool, then please, if you could submit to us the feedback form that we'll be sending over on Friday. And there's we're going to be sending over one of those items every week, so there's plenty of chances to win. So this is effectively the end of today's session, so we're going to stick around for a few minutes. If you have any questions that you'd like answering, please pop them into the chat, and we'll look to get as many answered as we can before 4:30. But other than that, Emily, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to work with you, mate. Really
Thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed myself as always. Thank you.
Thank you, mate. And for those of you that need to head off now, we hope to see you again soon. But thank you very much for joining us today.
Just so everyone knows, I've just popped in a couple of links in the chat. There's a Your Creative Future booklet. There's some information for teachers. There's the Take Your Place website. There's Emily's website, and there's Emily's Instagram in the chat as well. So if you wanted to follow her on Instagram, it's all there.
Please do. I'd love that. Come and say hello. Come and show me your work.
Brilliant. Right. So let's have a look at some of these questions that might have been coming in.
Yeah.
So we've had a question from Catherine. Can I do my painting and submit it this evening? What time's the deadline for the competition? So 5 o'clock today is ideally the deadline. It might be quicker for you to respond through doing the dry medium and sending that over. That'd be great. That's to win Emily's painting for your school or college. Emily, how much would you typically charge for this type of painting?
At the moment, this size is about £3,500, £3,000.
Great, thank you. So that's a decent price.
Yeah.
So other than that, next question is there any specific subject title to put on the email for the submission? No, not particularly, but if you write NUA Expressive painting submission, that could be really useful for us, or summer school submission, that would be useful as well. So something along that would be fantastic. Other than that, what information should we put in the email in order to get the certificate? We'd just like to see your name, your contact details, so we'll get your email address. We'd love to see your work, and then if you would like to have a certificate sent out to you in the post, then we'd love to see your postal address as well. Okay. yes, if you could send your images to us by email, that would be the easiest way for us to respond. If that's going to be tricky, then please let us know. So the email address is once again student.recruitment@nua.ac.uk. Okay, can we send you this technique with different kind of animals? Yeah, please do. Love to see that. Other than that, okay, you can submit your pieces individually, or you could submit them all. It would help us if you submit them all together as a collective series. But if you want to send them to us as you've done them, then that's absolutely fine as well. We will be keeping a database of submissions. Thank you for sending those bits of information, Emma, in the chat. That's brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone, for all of your amazing work. Thank you for being so positive. Thank you for getting on board. This can be a really challenging activity for some people. It really forces people to let go. So we really appreciate that you've given it a go and you've produced some incredible stuff as well. There's a lot of thank yous, which is absolutely
lovely. Thanks, everybody. Such fun.
That's great. So what facilities are there at NUA? Can you do like ceramics fused with glass? That's a really interesting one. We do have some fantastic facilities. So we've got our wood workshop, we've got our metal and casting facilities, we've got things like we've got 3D printers, laser cutters, plasma cutters. We've got our milling machine as well, so you can work with some really interesting 3D projects. Unfortunately, though, we don't do glass-based work. We do some ceramic-based work, but we often outsource our ceramics to be fired elsewhere. But yeah, great question. We've got some fantastic resources around screen printing and traditional printing for lino cuts and lithographs and dry point press, and we've got things like looms that you might want to work with and knitting machines. So there's all sorts of resources, but please have a little look at our website and have a look at our workshops on our website to give you a bit more of a full extent of what that looks like in those spaces. Do you have any other art workshops or other workshops mentioned on this site sorry, do you have any other workshops mentioned in site that look different? Sorry if I've misread that. We've got a variety of other workshops coming up. We've got one with Jade coming up where she's looking at, it's an art workshop that looks a bit more at kind of activism. It's looking at identity. So that one's a really fascinating one that's coming up. We've got a great one with Dan Kelby coming up where it's about character designing. Now, Dan's an NUA graduate. Well, most people that are running these workshops are NUA graduates, and Dan's gone on to do some really interesting stuff with Netflix and Cartoon Network and Disney. So he'll be running you through a character design workshop that kind of ties in with Emily's a bit. We've got a really interesting one, which is Drag Artistry 101, coming up with one of our fine art graduates, Oliver Sanders or Liv Sanders. So that one's a really fascinating one about the different transferable skills that you'd be developing if you're promoting yourself, particularly in the drag scene. So I'd really recommend having a look at those, but there's far more on our website to have a look at. So do have a look on the summer schools pages there. Right, thank you for your thank yous again. So the deadline for submitting work would be the week after. Let me just double check that. That's a great question. So that's effectively around the 9th of September. So it's at the end of the summer holidays that we'd be looking for you to submit your work by. So it's around that date. So you've got plenty of time to submit. So yeah, thank you so much again. This is brilliant. Okay, what format should the work be sent in? We don't really mind, as long as it's kind of a JPEG or a PDF or something that's easy for us to access and open, then that would be perfect. Thank you. Right. Okay, I think we're getting through the questions now. Emily, I asked you about the careers question. What careers could you go into with fine art? Had you kind of explored this?
With fine art or with this? With fine art?
With fine art. And let's talk about this workshop and the types of areas this crosses over with as well.
Well, with fine art, you could go into so many different careers. You know, you've got, isn't it, you know, Bob Dylan went to art school and did fine art. You know, you could go into music, you could do all sorts. It's about really honing your creativity, fine art. So you could be any of sort of ceramicists, artists, printmakers, any of those. You could run galleries. You could have your own gallery. You could go into teaching. You could go into lecturing. You could go into charity work where you help people do what's it called? Art therapy. You could then my sister did an art degree, and then she went on to medicine. And so you could do, I mean, you can do anything. You can change path. It enhances the way you think. So it's a really good one to start your life with, really. You can do so many things with it.
I've put a big old list in the chat as well to complement this. So we've got practicing artist, community artist, exhibition organizer, arts administrator, lecturer, art consultant, gallery manager, researcher, curator, teacher, image retoucher, art therapist, art conservator, studio manager, gallery technician, artist assistant, art handler, writer, critic, and gallery education are just some of those that we've got in there that I've popped into the chat that are typical careers. Also, my job, I started off in fine art. I was a couple of years above Emily and we studied together, kind of, so that was cool. So my job is one that has come out of studying fine art as well. That was a great question. Is it possible to have both digital and physical copy of the certificate? Yes, do get in touch with us about that, and we will look to send that over to you. Then any other questions? So we will send you the certificates once we have 3 submissions of your work. It is effectively what we'd be looking for. We do want to see that you've attended 6 of the sessions, and then if you submit work from at least 3 of those, then we will look to send out the certificate to you. That's a good question. Right. Oh, I've just realised we've gone over time. Excellent. Let's have 1 or 2 more questions. No, they're all the same, so that's fine. Well, other than that, once again, ladies and gents, thank you to the last 76 of you that have stayed about. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're looking forward to seeing you again, maybe tomorrow, for the Developing an Actor's Perception workshop. Do share this with your friends, your family, and your course mates, your teachers, anyone that you think might be interested. It's really a pleasure to be able to work with you, and we hope that you develop some really interesting work to put into your applications and find out a little bit more about the creative journey as well. Emily, thanks again. You're my hero.
Thanks.
Take care, mate.
See you soon, everyone. Bye.
Bye.